You might have missed it on the news, but as of now, it's common knowledge that the world is going through a massive extinction crisis. And guess who is behind it all? We humans.
As we told you yesterday, about 1 million species of animals and plants around the world are now at risk of extinction.
More animals are getting endangered every year, and more than 1 in every 5 species on the planet today faces extinction. That's predicted to rise to 50% by the end of the century unless we do something about it. So what can we do about it? Well, as of now, men have finally begun to play God. Science has progressed to the point where man can clone animals from DNA, breed certain genes, and bring back dead animals from extinction. After watching this, you should probably prepare to be running with the dinosaurs in the not-so-distant future because who knows what might happen. Join us as we explore the top 15 extinct animals that scientists are bringing back to life. Number 15. The Siberian Unicorn. While the name unicorn brings to mind the majestic creature in fairy tales and legends, you should know that the Siberian unicorn, or Elasmotherium sibericum, is nothing like the dainty horse-like creatures we're used to seeing on TV. In fact, aside from the enormous horns on the Siberian unicorn's head, there are no more similarities between the two. Furthermore, the real-life unicorn is even more fascinating to paleontologists. There have been a few fragments of the Siberian unicorn found over the years, all of which were difficult to analyze. This difficulty even resulted in some misconceptions about when the animal lived. It was not until 2018 that much of what we know about it now was brought to light. Scientists analyzed the DNA of the Siberian unicorn for the first time in 2018 and have been enthralled with the mysterious beast ever since. This unicorn, unlike the creature you have been imagining, is an ancient rhinoceros that lived about 36,000 years ago. In its day, this magnificent creature weighed up to 4 tons. The Siberian unicorn was a glorified prehistoric lawnmower known for grazing on tough, dry grass. When a period of significant climate change came into effect, the unicorn couldn't switch its diet to other forms of vegetation, and soon the species died off when its preferred food source was frozen over. Simply put, these humongous rhinos went extinct because they were picky eaters. According to various scientific sources, scientists might soon be able to successfully sequence the unicorn's complete genome, which would be the first step in its resurrection. As such, they also hope to use this knowledge to help the remaining rhinos on Earth avoid extinction. Number 14. The Saber-toothed Tiger. This iconic apex predator is one of the most popular extinct animals due to its role in the popular movie Ice Age. The saber-toothed tigers, or smilodons, were fearsome predators named for the pair of curved, saber-shaped canine teeth protruding from their upper jaw, which reaches up to 11 inches in length. This apex predator roamed North and South America and went extinct about 10,000 years ago. The extinction was most likely due to a combination of environmental change, a decline in prey population, and, well, wheels so happened. Over the years, scientists have discovered several saber-toothed tiger fossils in places like La Brea tar pits in North America. These fossils have been instrumental in providing many of the details we now know about this species. There are actually up to 7 different observed species of saber-toothed tigers, and they all have variations in appearance. Another interesting thing observed about these skilled hunters is that despite the name, they aren't actually related to modern-day tigers. In fact, it is speculated that their closest living relatives are actually the clouded leopard. These leopards are the only modern carnivores with skulls remotely resembling the saber-toothed tigers. The bright side of all of this is that with the advancing biotechnology in the world and breakthroughs in DNA genome sequencing, scientists are getting closer to making the impossible happen. Number 13. Woolly Mammoth. Another iconic character from the Ice Age franchise, the woolly mammoth, or Mammuthus primigenius, is set to take a comeback in the modern-day world. These gigantic beasts, with the ability to weigh up to 6 tons, had huge tusks and sported furry winter coats. Although they were thought to have been extinct during the Ice Age, a recent discovery revealed that a small isolated colony of the elephant-like mammoths actually survived until about 4,000 years ago. They lived on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean until they were wiped out. Woolly mammoths were originally found in the tundra, which stretched across northern Asia, Europe, and the northern parts of North America. They had smaller ears, shorter tails, and thicker coats that protected them from frostbite, unlike modern elephants of the savannas of Africa and the jungles of Asia. In recent times, preserved genetic material found in the remains of woolly mammoths is being used by scientists to recreate living mammoths with the aid of cloning advanced molecular biology. But as of date, no viable mammoth tissue or its intact genome has been found. So, since a mammoth cannot be recreated, the Colossal Biosciences, founded in 2021, is trying to grow an artificial womb using the mammoth genes to birth a hybrid elephant with some woolly mammoth traits. They intend to use this as a starting point to achieve the goal of bringing the extinct animal back to life. Number 12. Woolly rhinoceros. The woolly rhinoceros, or Coelodonta antiquitatis, is another animal that's believed to have gone extinct during the last ice age, just like the mammoths. The woolly rhinoceros was covered with a long, thick hair that allowed it to survive the extreme cold in its home region, Mammoth Steppe. To put that in perspective, Mammoth Steppe was a cold, dry place that spanned from Spain eastward across Eurasia to Canada and from the Arctic islands southward to China. Appearance-wise, the woolly rhinoceros had a massive hump pushing out from its shoulder and its signature rhino horns. It fed mainly on plants that grew on the steppe. After fossils of this rhino were found in 2020, bringing along with it an abundance of viable DNA, paleontologists and geneticists have begun to toy with the idea of reviving yet another woolly Ice Age creature. Number 11. The dodo bird. Perhaps the most famous extinct animal, aka the poster child animal for extinction, the dodo bird, or Raphus cucullatus, had a very sharp decline into non-existence. The dodo bird was flightless and around 3 feet tall before it was wiped out in the 17th century after it was discovered on the island of Mauritius 100 years earlier. The extinction of the dodo bird was brought about by humans hunting the bird, and in addition to that, it also became prey for the cats, dogs, and pigs that were brought to the island by sailors exploring the Indian Ocean. And because the dodo had lived alone for hundreds of years on the island before being discovered, it had no defense mechanisms, making it easy prey. Thankfully, the dodo bird could be making a comeback hundreds of years after its extinction thanks to a DNA breakthrough. Scientists have been able to sequence the bird's entire genome for the first time after years of analyzing preserved DNA retrieved from a specimen in Denmark. While there is hope, scientists report that it won't be easy to turn back the hands of time with the dodo's extinction though, because although they now have living cells of the bird to clone, the existing cloning techniques has only been done on a mammal, Dolly the sheep, rather than on a bird. Just in case you didn't know, Dolly was the first mammalian clone who was born in 1996 and died in 2003. So before venturing out to make clones of the dodo bird, scientists will have to map out the intricacies of a bird's reproductive pathways. This is but a small hurdle in the giant leaps science has taken in the field, so the world is confident in the fact that the extinct dodo birds will soon not be quite as extinct anymore. And due to their harmless nature, we can rest easy knowing that we won't be ending up like the ending of Jurassic Park anytime soon. Number 10. Thylacine. You might have been wondering why no dinosaurs seem to have been coming up on this list yet. Well, it is because scientists are actually many miles away from recreating a Jurassic world. The revival techniques that work on these extinct life forms rely heavily on analysis of DNA that is recovered from well-preserved specimens over time. As of now, it is impossible to retrieve such specimens from dinosaur fossils as a result of severe degradation of DNA brought about by extreme old age. For this reason, we're most likely to see species that went extinct more recently, like the thylacine, also known as Thylacinus cynocephalus or Tasmanian tiger. The thylacine is not to be mistaken for tigers, as the name misleads. They're rather the only marsupials to make this list. With that said, the species earned its nickname Tasmanian tiger because of the stripes along its back. In its day, thylacine was a slow-paced carnivore that usually hunted alone or in pairs at night. The sharply clawed animal had a dog-like head and ate kangaroos, other marsupials, small rodents, and birds. Being the apex predator of its food chain, the Tasmanian tiger lived in the grass and woodlands of Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania. They went extinct in the 1930s after being killed off by humans for preying on livestock. In the present day, scientists in the US and Australia have embarked on a $15 million project to resurrect the extinct thylacine. They hope to achieve this using DNA material obtained from 13 young thylacine specimens found in perfect condition in a dead mother's pouch. Number 9. Pyrenean Ibex. Next up is the first extinct animal on our list that has actually been revived. Yeah, you heard right. The Pyrenean Ibex, or Capra pyrenica pyrenica, was cloned and brought to life in 2003. Although it died only a few minutes after its birth, this provides all the credibility you need about reviving long-lost species. The Pyrenean Ibex is a mountain goat that went extinct in 2000. For 200 years, hunting had thinned the Pyrenean Ibex population, and the last living Ibex died in 2000 after it was hit by a falling branch, a sad way to become extinct. Using frozen skin samples taken from this lone specimen in 1999, Jose Folk, a PhD student at the Center for Agro-Nutrition Research and Technology in Aragon, Spain, and his colleagues made clone embryos by inserting the bocado's DNA into domestic goat eggs emptied of their original genetic material. The clones were then implanted into 208 other subspecies of Spanish ibex or goat ibex hybrids. Of the 208 embryos the researchers implanted, only 7 goats became pregnant and just one of them gave birth. The newborn ibex died of respiratory failure immediately after birth, and investigations revealed the animal had lung abnormalities, although all its other organs looked normal. A good first try for bringing back an extinct animal, don't you think? Number 8. Quagga. The Quagga project is a project that started in 1987 in an attempt to bring back the quagga or Equus quagga quagga from extinction. Quaggas formerly inhabited the Karoo and southern Free State of South Africa, and like most other animals on this list, they were ruthlessly hunted to extinction. The quaggas were seen by the European settlers of South Africa in the late 19th century as competitors for the grazing of their livestock, mainly sheep and goats. As expected, this placed a target on their backs. The last quagga was extinct in the wild by 1878. The last captive died on August 12, 1883 at a zoo in Amsterdam. At the time, it wasn't even acknowledged that the last of a species had died due to its close resemblance to zebras. The quaggas are a subspecies of zebras and are believed to have been around 9 feet long and up to 4 feet 5 inches tall at the shoulders. They are distinguished from other zebras by their limited pattern of primarily brown and white stripes, mainly on the front part of the body. Quaggas had a brown rear, and without stripes, they appeared more horse-like. Quaggas were the first extinct animal whose DNA was analyzed in 1984. The Quagga project started 3 years after. The scientists on this project are trying to recreate the phenotype of the hair coat pattern of the quagga by selectively breeding the genetically closest subspecies, which is Burchell zebra. Number 7. Aurochs. While the Quagga project is moving closer to its goal by the years, there have been more initiatives like it trying to solve the world's problem of ongoing and old cases of extinction. One of such would be the Tauros program, formerly known as the Tauros Project. Founded in 2008, the main goal of the Tauros program is to revive the ancestor of all cattle, and thereby the most important animal in the history of mankind, the aurochs. The aurochs, or Bos primigenius, was the keystone species for many European ecosystems because it played a vital role in maintaining biodiversity. With a shoulder height of up to 6 feet in bulls, 5 feet in cows, the auroch is one of the largest herbivores in the Holocene. It had massive elongated and broad horns that reached up to 3 feet in length. The oldest known aurochs fossils were found in India and North Africa, dating back to the Middle Pleistocene, and in Europe to the Holstein Interglacial. Aurochs began to decline about 11,650 years ago in the Holocene period due to habitat loss and hunting. They eventually became extinct when the last individual died in 1627 in Jagtorów Forest in Poland. The auroch may be long gone, yet all is not lost, as strands of its DNA remain alive. Distributed among several ancient cattle breeds that still exist across Europe, the Tauros program has been working tirelessly to combine cattle breeds with desired characteristics, physical attributes, behavior, and genetics that closely match the aurochs. The technique is called backbreeding, and with that, scientists hope to bring back the ancestor of cattle in a few years. Number 6. Irish elk. The Irish elk, or Megaloceros giganteus, may not be the ancestor of its kind like our previous entry, but it's by no means less interesting. In contrast to what its name implies, the Irish elk is no elk at all. Instead, it's the largest deer that ever lived. This giant deer stood at about 7 feet tall at the shoulders, and it carried the largest antlers of any known deer. The antlers had sizes reaching 12 feet from tip to tip and weighed up to 88 pounds. That's a really large headgear. While still on Earth, the Irish elk was spread across Ireland to Lake Baikal in Siberia, throughout Europe, Northern Asia, and Northern Africa. In a surprising turn of events, the most recent remains of the species have been carbon dated to about 7,700 years ago in Western Russia. The last living Irish elk died around 11,000 years ago in Ireland, going extinct partly due to humans hunting for food and sport, and also a decrease in favorable living conditions. It should be noted that the Irish elk's large antlers, while being majestic, might have played a role in their demise, as many speculate that it would have been hard to escape from predators carrying all that weight on its head. Needless to say, this giant deer is of great significance to scientists and paleontologists, and attempts at its revival have been worked at for years. Number 5. Elephant bird. Another interesting animal that got wiped off the earth by us humans and is now being brought back is the largest bird that ever lived. The elephant birds, or Mullaornis, Varombe, and Apiornis maximus, are enormous flightless birds that once lived on the island of Madagascar. While they were geographically close to the ostrich, the elephant bird's closest living relatives are kiwi. The elephant birds tower up to 10 feet in the air and they weighed more than half a ton. Elephant birds really were the biggest birds in the wild until French colonists wiped them out more than 300 years ago. They have been extinct since at least the 17th century, with some reports of sightings in the 1640s and 1650s. News that these giant birds of Madagascar would be resurrected began to spread after scientists discovered how to extract DNA from ancient eggshells. Once scientists have a full sequence genome of the giant birds, it would only be a matter of time till we can no longer call them extinct. Number 4. Moa. The moa, or Dinonythiformes, were species of flightless birds much like the elephant birds. They were the largest terrestrial animals and were the dominant herbivores in New Zealand's forest. The moa's extinction occurred within 100 years of establishment of a human settlement, the Maori of New Zealand. In the present day, scientists at Harvard University have assembled the first nearly complete genome of the moa, an achievement that moves the birds closer from being classified as extinct to de-extinct. The DNA was reconstructed from the toe bone of a museum specimen, and although it's a little bit lacking, it's merely the first step in the path these scientists are taking to bring these birds back. Number 3. Steller's sea cow. Named after German biologist George Wilhelm Steller, was among the expedition to first come across a Steller sea cow, or Hydrodamalis gigas, in 1741. The Steller sea cow was found only living around the Commander Islands in the Bering Sea between Alaska and Russia. Within 27 years of its discovery by Europeans, the slow-moving and easily capturable mammal was hunted into extinction for its meat, fat, and hide. The Steller sea cows were reported to have reached sizes of 26 to 30 feet and possess masses of up to 11 tons. They had a very thick outer skin to prevent injury from sharp rocks and ice, and possibly to prevent unsubmerged skin from drying out. The sea cow was positively buoyant, meaning that it was unable to submerge completely. That might have made it an even easier target for hunters and poachers in its day. The sea cow's head was small and short in comparison to its huge body. The animal had an upper lip that was large and broad and extended so far beyond the lower jaw that the mouth appeared to be located underneath the skull. It was toothless and instead had a dense array of interlacing white bristles on its upper lip. A multinational team of researchers successfully sequenced and analyzed the genome of the sea cow in 2021 using DNA extracted from a well-preserved petrous bone housed in the Kaliningrad Museum of the Ocean. Number 2. Caribbean monk seal. The Caribbean monk seal, or Neomonachus tropicalis, is another animal that succumbed to overhunting and poaching. It was mainly brought to extinction because it was hunted for food and oil after being discovered by Columbus in 1494. The last confirmed sighting of the monk seal was in 1952 at Serenella Bank between Jamaica and Nicaragua, and it was officially declared extinct by the United States after an exhaustive 5-year search in 2008. Caribbean monk seals were found in warm, temperate, subtropical, and tropical waters of the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, and the western Atlantic Ocean. They had a relatively large, long, robust body, could grow to nearly 8 feet in length, and weighed up to 0.2 tons. Many believe that these unique features have landed the monk seal on scientists' resurrection list. Number 1. Heath hen. Although they were one of the first species in the United States to draw a concerted conservation effort, the heath hen, or Tympanicus cupido, had massively reduced in population by 1870. By 1932, they went extinct. Heath hens lived in the heathland barrens of coastal North America, from southernmost New Hampshire to northern Virginia in historical times, and were extremely common in their habitat during colonial times. Due to their abundance back then, the heath hens were hunted by settlers extensively for food. It was even speculated that the first Thanksgiving dinner with the Pilgrims was made of heath hens rather than wild turkeys. Heath hens are very similar to prairie chickens with very little difference in size and weight. A Revive and Restore De-extinction project began working on bringing back the heath hens to life in 2014. Since then, they've been working on transmitting cultured cells of the heath hen into the reproductive system of domestic chicken surrogates, which will breed and hatch the first generations of revived heath hens. De-extinction is coming gradually and certainly, and while it is an ecological necessity to bring back some of these animals, there remains some debate on whether or not we should be playing God. Time will tell if we will be seeing extinct animals in our days. Which of these extinct animals would you most like to see brought back? Let us know in the comment section below.